that truck was supposed to be in Houston making delivery the day before, and it's still sitting in Dallas at this TA truck stop. We think there's a dead driver, you know, there's a dead driver in the back of this truck. The truck's been running. We're thinking that the exhaust fumes have killed the driver. That's why I've got like CO monitors. I got one in the front, one in the back, because carbon monoxide will kill you. And well, whatever your exhaust is, I don't know if it's a lot of carbon monoxide in there, but breathing in your exhaust will kill you. If you didn't know that. So the IRS, they don't want a little they don't want some small tax. They want actual income tax when you go to sell equipment. That's why you see a bunch of trucks and trailers just sitting out in people's, you know, pastures and yards and stuff. It's like, it makes more sense to just keep it around and just let it sit there rather than sell it and pay the IRS some huge tax bill. And there was a driver inside the truck.
Yes, Pattern 10-4, thank you. I'm gonna get over and keep it back. Alright.
At the next stop sign, turn right.
Oh, we got our next load booked. This one's gonna turn into a pretty good deadhead. Because I couldn't sit still at that Petro. I just went ahead and deadheaded up here.
Use the right lane to take a slight right turn to merge onto I-75 north. Up
here to Jasper. So we're already almost to Georgia. And then the load that I booked was like 180 miles north of here, which...
Make a slight right turn.
I guess once you've already made the decision to deadhead somewhere, that kind of resets everything. So even if a great load popped up right where you just left, and you'd hate to backtrack, it would still, you know, you still got to do what makes sense. But this one was at least heading, you know, heading up into Georgia, so at least I was deadheading in the right direction.
For about 165 miles, continue straight.
We're going up to Robins Air Force Base. I think it's Air Force Base. It's not going to be like a real cool military load or anything. We're not carrying tanks or bombs or anything. It's just it's a bunch of different stuff. They said they got a generator, some like floodlights, I think. They even said there's like a crate full of swords. So it's just a whole bunch of different stuff. And I do have to tarp some of it, like anything that's, you know, could get damaged in the rain, because it's the swords and stuff, because there's also, I don't know, some other things that go along with that. I'm not sure what the exact term is, ceremonial maybe, but it's like stuff like that. I might have some uniforms in it as well. So that kind of stuff will tarp, but he said there's nothing's gonna be big tarps. I think there's also a forklift. I won't have to tarp the forklift. I'll just stay out in the weather. Head up there, pick it up tomorrow morning. That's heading over to Fort Worth. Notice the wind, or I felt my steering wheel shaking. I got a little bit of irregular wear in my steer tires, but that's a little worse than normal. But if I accelerate through it and then slow back down a little ways, it seems to be fine. Yeah, so I probably won't be able to film anything on this one at the military base. But I mean, it's not like it's anything cool to watch anyways. It sounds like it's all crates and pallets, except for the forklift. So I remember I was hauling I don't know what they're called. They're like bomb loaders, though. They're like little miniature go-karts, kind of. They basically sit on the ground, and they got a hydraulic arm that they put the bombs on to load them in jets, or to load them underneath the wings of the jets. That was a pretty interesting load. It was actually a real difficult load because the way those things are built is they're made to fit into all different configurations of different spaces, and so the axles on them, like everything expands and contracts. Well, when they loaded it, like the axles, or whatever, I guess you call them axles, they're like the arms that the tires, the wheels attached to, were not in their most shrunk up, like most contracted position, and the hydraulics in there weren't strong enough to hold back my chains, so I would chain them down, everything would be taut, and then just a few miles up the road, my chains had pulled them hydraulics down, and so the machine kept getting smaller. I had two of them on there. Both of them kept getting smaller as I was driving down the road. And so thank God I checked on the load. If I'd have driven, if I'd have just loaded and tried to run 300 or 400 miles up the road, those things would have been on the side of the highway somewhere. But by the end of it, I had straps and chains. I had everything, I had these straps that were pulling everything out towards the perimeter of the trailer, and then the chains pulling in, trying to hold it in towards the center of the trailer to try to keep that machine from shrinking down anymore. And I had to do that on two different ones. They both kept getting smaller as I was going down the road. But yeah, it doesn't sound like this one's going to be too interesting. It's just, but it is what it is. It sounded like a pretty small broker. He was willing to work with me, so I found the smaller brokerages are easier to work with than the mega brokers. A lot of times they'll give you a little leeway. They're a little more flexible. Like this guy here, he was just cool with, I guess my MC was old enough or something, or he just wasn't too worried about it. But some of them they'll just want some references from you. You send them contact information for the last 3 or 4 brokers you worked with. I'm hoping once I get over the 1 year mark, I can do a carrier packet in just 2 or 3 minutes. Not a highway. I mean, if it's like highway or one of those, I mean, it's almost instant. You just click the link, confirm everything, it pushes it all straight through. But the other carrier packets, you know, sometimes you have to actually mess with a PDF, do your signatures, save it, send it back to them. But you can do all that on your phone and just have your e-signature all set up and everything. It really doesn't take as much time as I was thinking it would. So it's 6:25. We're in Byron, Georgia. This is about as close as you can get to the Robins Air Force Base, where we pick up here in just a few. Or it's as close as you can get and still be at a truck stop. We're at the Speedway. I just asked the guy inside how long this place has been here, because it seems relatively new. I mean, the way their curbs are set up behind the trucks, and seeing as how they're not all destroyed yet, this place must be pretty new, because I'd give it a year. And the way they got tall curbs that are set like more than 5 feet, it seems like, in front of the real curb behind it, and they're taller, and they've got chunks of rebar sticking out from the top of them. So, you know, there's a lot of trucks that roll over the back of, you know, the back of whatever curb to try to squeeze into the spot and not be hanging out. And thankfully, my bumper, when I was parking yesterday, caught onto the rebar, and it actually lifted the chunk of it lifted the concrete curb up out of the concrete it was you know, secured to. It didn't lift it up a lot. I mean, I stopped the truck pretty quick, but I'd say within a year, all the curbs at this place are going to be destroyed, because they've got so much space wasted there. And they got them on every one of these spots too, not just where the light poles are. And they're set way too far ahead to, like, if they needed to protect the light poles back there, I mean, they could have these curbs. They really wouldn't even need them, I don't think. I mean, possibly a real long truck might try to do something stupid, but their light poles are set back pretty far as it is from the regular curb. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and head over that way early. They said 8. Well, some of the paperwork said 8, some of it said 7. There was, like, the paperwork I've got for this load is crazy. Let's see. So I had at least just the numbers I wrote down, and these weren't, there was actually more on there. I just got tired of writing numbers, so I stopped. So I had I had 3 different points of contact. I had 2 phone numbers for 2 of those, 1 phone number for another one. There was another group phone number in there, and just lots of letters and numbers everywhere that I probably, there might have been 3 or 4 other phone numbers in there. But the thing is, the first 3 numbers I called didn't even work. They had them shut off. So I guess it's good they have all these phone numbers. And the gate, so my specific instructions for approaching the base from the broker says I must, follow these directions and then enter at this spot, go into this gate, go to the visitor center, check in as a visitor, and then one of the numbers that actually worked when I talked to them. Commercial trucks are not supposed to enter that gate. They said don't go in there. They said just go past the MOK gate, and it's the next gate on the left. So it's for commercial trucks. And the gate, so in the paperwork I've got from this broker, it says gate 4 commercial truck gate, but they told me on the phone, they're like, no, the commercial truck gate used to be gate 10, now it's gate 7. They said don't go in gate 4. So it's always good to talk to somebody on site. I mean, these places are confusing as is. Some of the roads are labeled, not labeled, mislabeled. It's just weird. So the total PDF I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I've got 13 pages. A PDF 13 pages long just to pick this load up. And this is like I think, so after the first 4 pages, a lot of these are like, it's letters of authorization for them to release the equipment, I guess. So, which I've never had them need that before. But if they do, I guess I've got them on my phone now. So that'll be nice to not have to make a phone call and wait on somebody to email them to me if I need them. Wall Street Journal headline: despite U.S. tariffs, China enjoys manufacturing boom. Yeah, that's no surprise. I don't think anybody thought those tariffs were actually going to do anything except waste all of our money and make it cost more. And slow the economy down. Certainly not helping the trucking business. I can tell you that for sure. My bank account knows firsthand how well them tariffs are helping us. But we're about to hop on the road, and let's see how far we are. We're not too far. Surely I marked it. Look at this dang GPS picture for an hour yesterday trying to figure out where I was supposed to go in. Calling a bunch of numbers that didn't work. Okay. So we got it marked. Big obvious truck gate. That's where we're heading. So we still should be there an hour early. Hopefully they got the gate open. It's gonna suck if I get up there and the gate's closed and I'm like stuck out in the road in the turn lane waiting for it to open. But I mean, it's military, they're up.
Turn right onto John East Howard Drive.
They're up early.
Then turn right onto Cinderville Road.
Somebody's up there doing some work. So we'll be on 80. Somewhere we're gonna connect to 80, and then we'll be on, I think it's 280 once we get on the other side of Columbus. So that's a highway I'm familiar with 80 and 280. 49, maybe, yeah. This is State Highway 49, I think. Well, right now we're, I don't know, 249 and 129. That's weird, these highways have like two different numbers for the same highway. And this one that we're on is technically called a connector, not a highway. It's probably gonna be like this, just traffic lights every mile or half a mile the whole way down there. I found a new problem with the truck yesterday. I'm glad I didn't book that load to Wyoming because my vent controls, I mean like the heater and AC work, but I can't move the vents around to get it up to where I, you know, to defrost the windshield, so I've got to get that. That's going to get fixed quick. I'm just going to take it up to, I'm just going to take that up to Holt. There's a Holt cat shop right up from my house, and they take care of me. They do a good job, and they don't gouge me on, I mean, they charge a fair rate, I'd call it, but they, I'm in there so much, they call, I mean, I've been using them for so long, they know me by name, and they've actually saved me several $100s a few times by telling me about some promotion or special they had where I could just get stuff for free, basically, when I was up there anyways. And then, you know, I can call the guy up there. I'll call him when I'm out on the road and just ask him questions about the engine. I got a bolt fall out of the engine a few weeks back when I was, well, I guess this was 2 or 3 months back. I was up in North Dakota. I just noticed there was a bolt missing from the engine. It wasn't the engine itself, though. It was, I mean, I just called them to make sure it wasn't, like, I didn't know what it went to. It was just a little blocking plate that gives you as an access cover for to rotate the engine. So it's kind of sitting there right on the, like where the flywheel is. And it's still, so it had one bolt in it. It was missing one, it was missing the second bolt. He said it doesn't matter at all. He said some trucks don't even have that cover on them, so. But yeah, so I'll use them for a lot of stuff, and it's nice that they have a warranty, so you know you can save money going to some shade tree mechanic, or I mean, I don't know that you save any money going to Love's or TA. They seem to charge high prices and do a bad job. They're like the worst of everything. But I mean, having an invoice that they stand behind and they honor, you know, their work, and the parts are warranted along with the work they do is warranted. So, like I had them throw a new radiator in one time, and I got up to, I left Texas, the next load was going up to Oregon, and along the way, like, I mean, I hadn't even got out of Texas yet, I noticed a little pinhole, there was a little pinhole in the weld seam on the surge tank, and so it was letting coolant drip out of it, but it was, I mean, it was just porosity. It was, you know, so a tiny, like, microscopic little hole, but it was enough to let coolant come out. It was still holding the pressure and everything, but it was enough to let, like, I don't know, a millimeter or milliliter of coolant come out, like every hour or so. You could just barely see it. mean, you'd have to hold the camera on it for like 2 or 3 minutes to even see any activity even happen there. It was coming out so slow. But so I delivered, got back to Texas, and they got everything taken care of. No questions asked. I don't know if if you were at the shade tree up the street, is he gonna take care of the warranty on the parts? Or I mean, they don't have warranties on. They're just trying to grab some money. They're just trying to grab some money. I mean, which is what everybody's trying to do. But and especially like on these big trucks, like it changes the resale value of the equipment too. Like I've still got the paperwork from the engine rebuild that Butler Cat did up in North Dakota on this truck, and that adds value to the next owner. So if you have maintenance records that show, I mean, at least on your major stuff, like engines, transmissions, differentials, whatever. I mean, that kind of stuff. People like to see that it was done right. And like the Caterpillar rebuild, that warranty will, for the engine, it'll transfer to the next owner. So they care about it for that reason too. Because they give you like a 4-year unlimited mileage warranty on the rebuilds. I mean, they charge you for it too, but they so that just helps if you're going to get rid of some equipment, which I don't know, with you basically have to pay income tax when you sell equipment like this, and not sales tax, because you've depreciated it. So you've already subtracted all that value off of your income. So the IRS, they don't want they don't want some small tax. They want actual income tax when you go to sell equipment. That's why you see a bunch of trucks and trailers just sitting out in people's, pastures and yards and stuff. It's like, it makes more sense to just keep it around and just let it sit there rather than sell it and pay the IRS some huge tax bill. Road closed. What? The sign said road closed. I mean, this sign's showing lane closed. I guess I need to get in another lane. Come on, car. If you're gonna go around me, go around me. Like you got to. Jesus. Alright. Well, now it doesn't look like anything's closed. Well, we're turning right in 2 miles. This is like, well, now all the four-wheelers are in the right lane. I guess I saw a long line of four-wheelers in the left lane. I assume they were avoiding the road being closed ahead of them. Now I see a bunch of them in the right lane. It's like, this is why people don't pay attention to roadwork signs. It's boy who cried wolf. You go past so many roadwork signs that are, meaningless, and we're not giving you accurate information, then you don't believe any of the roadwork signs you see. So when there's actually roadwork going on, people aren't even paying attention because they've gone through so many roadwork signs with flashing lights and warnings and everything, and then there's like nothing going on. Lanes are clear. It's like, actually just, you know, turn the flashing lights on, you know, active work zone when lights are flashing, and it was actually accurate, I think more people would slow down through the work zones when they're actually need to slow down. 1 mile to go down this road after we turn. That should be the commercial truck gate.
At the light, turn right onto Oak Avenue.
What? Oh. But I
In
didn't
1
see...
mile, turn left.
I noticed Apple doing this, and then I've also noticed Google, like Apple and Google, neither one of them show any... Yeah, so that's where the paperwork was telling us to
Stay
go in
the right
there.
lanes.
Yeah. That would have not been too good. Okay. So this says stay on the right too. But they're like, somehow I guess they're using some machine learning thing to like remove traffic from their satellite images, and they're doing it in parking lots and on roads. Like used to, I would, if I just wanted a quick way to see if, you know, if a road I wasn't familiar with was good for trucks, then I would just look and see real quick if there's like a truck stops along that route, or while I'm looking at the GPS, I'll just zoom in and I'll like look for trucks along the road real quick. But now like this commercial truck gate, there's not any vehicles in the whole area is just empty. So I don't know if they're taking their pictures like when places are closed, and then just, you know, brightening the images to make them look like daylight, or if they're actually just trying to remove the vehicles from those images. That's our gate right up there. Hopefully it's open.
Turn left.
Kind of expecting to see some more trucks over here. Trying to figure out who's in charge of this order, trying to figure out what the order is. It's a weird order because it says like basically load what you can. If you can't fit it, don't worry about it. But also it says prioritize these items. So basically it says load these first and then fit what you can on the trailer. So I'm guessing they've probably got, that's why the paperwork was so long I got. It's because I've got like probably 3 or 4 different trucks paperwork, and they're just trying to fill up trailers as they come in, which normally means you're going to use a lot of straps, because you'll have a bunch of different stuff sitting next to each other that's all, you know, it's not going to be like continuous pieces. It's going to be a lot of little pieces that all need their individual strap. So, and they'll need to be tarped. So, I hate those loads where everything's, you know, different shapes and stuff, and it's underneath the tarp, and you're trying to throw the straps over the tarp. I mean, it's better to do, I guess it's better to do the straps on the product and then tarp it after, but I find I can get away with a pretty crappy tarp job if I just throw my straps over the top of them. And I don't do tarping enough to do a good job. I do a good enough job to keep it out of the rain and to keep it from flapping in the lanes next to me. But I do that with, you know, I use straps on the top of it, not just the bungees. I don't even know if I remember how to tarp. I hadn't got these tarps out, and this is the first load I've done with my own numbers that needed tarps. And I'd taken a year off before this, back when I was with Landstar. I probably didn't tarp a load for the last 6 months I was with them. So hopefully I rolled them up good last time. And hopefully when I roll them out, they don't just fall to pieces, like from sitting out in the weather and sun for that long without moving. So I'll get some pictures. If you want to see how not to tarp a load, I'll show you a video of my tarp job. It won't be pretty, I can assure you that. This is the best printer I've found for printing off like bill of ladings and permits and stuff out on the road. It's a Jaden's printer. It doesn't use any ink. I used to use like a smaller printer, but it took ink, and them ink cartridges, when they sit on the truck, they get hot and then real cold, they dry out and stuff. And this one here, it's a thermal printer like they use to print receipts out at stores, but it takes full-size paper, and you just put it in and it connects through Bluetooth to your phone, so you don't have to mess with any cables, and it charges up. You just plug it into a normal USB-C port and it charges. So it's running on battery right now, not even plugged in. So only thing is, it doesn't take, since it doesn't have ink, it's got to use thermal paper. So you either put a roll of it in there. I like to use these ones that are like normal, more like normal paper, that are just kind of perforated there. They just spit out a bunch, and then you just rip it off. And there's our work order / bill of lading here for this base. It stores away. They sell these little cases that are like almost the exact size of the printer, so it doesn't really take up any extra space. Well, we just got loaded. We weren't able to film anything in the base, so you'll either have just finished watching a political rant, of me sitting there waiting, or you might have just seen me just pulling the gate. But I had footage, but the guy, he said no filming, so I'm tossing all that kind of stuff. Anything that shows anything inside the base. I mean, I wasn't filming, it was just the dash cam thing that was recording. But it ended up taking a lot longer than I was supposed to. And we didn't even get what we were supposed to get. We got pretty much a full trailer load, but it's different. We ended up getting some kind of they call a shelter, just like a container. I think it's got a bunch of doors or something inside of it. Yeah, we didn't get any swords. We didn't get any. We were supposed to get swords, floodlights, some kind of fuel distribution system, parkas,
At the next light,
duffel
turn left.
bags. Like we were supposed to get, there's all this different stuff we were supposed to get, and they didn't get the work orders printed out or something. The people, so I'd called several numbers and like nobody answered. Well, I don't know. Even after all the waiting, it's like 1 o'clock now.
At
So
the light, use the left 2 lanes to turn onto Watson Boulevard.
even after sitting around forever, they and saying that they had the pieces that we needed there, they wouldn't load them because they said they didn't have the orders printed.
Turn
So,
left.
when they say printed, I don't think they're talking about just using a printer. I think that's probably some kind of technical military jargon for getting the approval right. But I had tons of release forms for them to release different things to me, but I guess that wasn't enough. Taking off a little later than I like, but that's because we didn't get shut down until later than I like. That's pretty tiring, always running on your like 14-hour clock. Go get some fuel and we'll hit the road. Well, this pump here is running so slow, so I figured I'd show you all this load we got. Nothing too exciting, just some tanks. Got a forklift. It was dark whenever I shut down yesterday, so it's hard to really get any good images. I mean, it's still dark, but got a little bit of light from the fuel island. So this is just they call it a shelter. I think it's got some doors in it for something. And these tanks, another one of these tanks almost looks like a little bit of a different size tank. And here's some welders in here. Not like those kind of welders, like welding machines, like Miller MIG welders, I think. And this was really the issue. I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out how to get that excess tarp, because I got these in like a checkerboard pattern back here, and so I had all this extra tarp because this is such a small, short little area. So I've got an extra strap running from here across behind, just pressing down on that part of the tarp, and then I wasn't able to get any real pressure on it, so I threw a couple chunks of wood on it and then put another strap over them chunks of wood. I don't know, I'm not good at tarping, so I don't know if that was a good idea, but it seemed like it made sense at the time, and it's been working. But yeah, so I think we got a little over 550 miles to go. As long as we spin at the shipper, they won't get too upset if we don't deliver it today. I mean, you can't expect next day delivery when it takes, let's say we got in there at 7, we left at, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the afternoon or something. But anyways, we're gonna get out of here. Well, I just threw some trash on the ground. Looked at 3. That trash can's complete. It's got stuff falling out of it. That one's got stuff falling out of it. That one's got stuff falling out of it. People think truck drivers are dirty and nasty, and we are, but some of it's like, some of that's on the truck stops. If you can't get somebody to empty the trash out, and you gotta walk around the whole property to find a trash can, like, that's on the business. That's not on the, that's on the truck stop. It's not on the truck driver. I mean, it's a TA. Kind of used to just trash cans overflowing, trash all over the ground, trashy bathrooms, trashy coffee, pretty much trashy everything. But this just happened to be, I really ran longer than you know, the sun was going down at like 4:35. It was over the tree line. It was down below the tree line. By 5 o'clock yesterday, it was done. I've been trying out these new cameras, or this new camera on the last load. It's like a little miniature one where you can mount it pretty much anywhere with magnets, but I feel like I cut out some of the video from it because it's like, if it's attached, so if I mount it like on my chest, it's not too bad, but you can put it on the bill of your cap, and when I did that, I had to cut out quite a bit of footage because when I'm looking in the mirrors like this, I didn't realize how fast my head was moving, but watching that footage made me want to throw up. It was pretty bad. But let me know in the comments if the footage from that camera is worthwhile or if it's not that great. It's, I mean, it's like a first person point of view kind of thing. So if y'all would like to see more of that, let me know. If not, let me know. It's really it's really not hard to, I mean, it takes 2 seconds to, like, there's no setup required. It just uses a magnet. You either have a magnet behind your shirt and then the camera's got a magnet in front of your shirt, or you just clip it onto your hat real quick. It doesn't, like, it's easy to set up, but I don't think I would want to use it at like when I'm getting loaded, because, I mean, maybe on my chest just as like a body cam, but I definitely wouldn't want to clip it on the bill of my hat. Everything's rolling pretty good, riding pretty good. These are ones you strap it down one time and you pretty much never have to touch it again. They just stay good. These have been the same way. These are really the only ones I've been messing with. These seem pretty good. Yeah, I think these will ride all the way to, they should ride all the way to Dallas, Fort Worth, like this. So, there's a real military load. That guy's got all the RGN. These people would get around them. God dang. I guess they're just stopping to look. These four-wheelers are all taking their time. young to work with them right now. I used to haul for Bennett. Actually, I had some of my best loads from them whenever I was at Landstar. And they want at least 180. But I like those people. That seems like a good company. So the last time I was at this TA on I-20 in South Dallas that we might end up at this evening was back in June of 2019 when I bought this truck. I just bought the truck and I put it on with Landstar. I had another truck on with Landstar before this one, but that's a whole nother story. That was a disaster. But yeah, I'll never forget this trip to this TA. I think I've been back once to me and a buddy of mine were stopping through. Or we were driving through that area at the same time, so we just met up and hung out for a little bit at the truck stop. But other than that, I haven't been back. Because so I just got in the truck. I was trying to get like my fifth wheel, set up to pull a drive in with it. And I went and I talked to the TA shop and see if they could, could they blow the rocks. The guy that owned this truck before me rented, he was like hauling gravel and doing like for road work projects and stuff. So the whole truck was covered in asphalt, gravel, tar, all kinds of stuff. But they wouldn't do it. They said it wasn't going to work. It would waste their time. So there's a truck wash that's kind of like right behind that and off to the side of that truck stop. So I went back there. They put a pressure washer on it and it blew tons of chunks of gravel and rocks out from that fifth wheel slider. And then it worked fine after that. But so I got back over to that truck stop and I was messing with I was replacing the head on your pigtail. I was kind of loose, so I was just taking the wires off those pins and putting it, connecting them to a new, I don't know if it's called a head, but it's like a pigtail head. And while I was doing that, a guy pulled up and parked his personal vehicle in front of the truck that was right next to me. And then he came over and asked me if I'd seen any activity in that truck. I hadn't. It just seemed like a normal truck. It was just idling, just truck running, idling next to me in the truck stop. I didn't think anything of it. But anyways, he told me that it wasn't his truck. He worked for a company. He was just helping his company out. The company that owned the truck had sent him over there because that truck was supposed to be in Houston making delivery the day before. And it's still sitting in Dallas at this TA truck stop. And so his company sent him over there to check out this truck. It wasn't like a mega fleet or anything. It was, I don't even know what the carrier was. Smaller, but enough, they had company trucks and stuff like that. And so, me and this guy I just met, we're trying to figure out what's going on. The doors are locked. And we've knocked on it. So we think there's a dead driver. There's a dead driver in the back of this truck. And truck's been running. We're thinking that the exhaust fumes have killed the driver. That's why I've got like CO monitors. I got one in the front, one in the back, because carbon monoxide will kill you. And well, whatever your exhaust is, I don't know if it's a lot of carbon monoxide in there, but breathing in your exhaust will kill you. If you didn't know that. So we thought maybe there was a leak in the exhaust, and he was asleep, and he had just passed away in his sleep from breathing in exhaust fumes in the night. But we can't get in, and we called the police out there, and we told them the story, and they don't want to open the truck. I don't know why they wouldn't open it, but they're like, y'all have called us, and if you want to break in the truck, don't worry about it. There's not going to be like any charges or anything like that. So if you want to break in, you got the thumbs up from us, but we're not going to break into the truck. And this truck, I don't know how long it's been sitting there just idling, but eventually it's going to run out of fuel. But so we spent like 3 hours trying to figure out how to get into this truck unsuccessfully. I'm not good at breaking into stuff. I don't know how to pick any locks. Neither did the other guy they sent over there. So we don't know what we're doing. We're just trying to get into this truck and figure out what happened with this driver. And we couldn't get in. So long story short, he called the company, and the company called the police. The police came back out there. Somehow, I don't remember how, they ended up getting into the truck, and there was a driver inside the truck, but he wasn't dead. That guy, the driver in the back of that truck, had smoked so much crack, he had no clue what he was doing, where he was at. He didn't know what was going on around him. He was on a whole lot of crack. I mean, you can imagine, like, if you don't wake up, like, we've been knocking on the doors, on the sleeper berth, on both sides, trying to break into the truck for hours. He never moved. He had obviously been passed out asleep or something for over a day, because he was supposed to make delivery the day before. So ever since that trip to the TA there in South Dallas, I've been back, I think, one time just to say hi to one of my friends that was driving through there. But we might end up at that TA this evening, just because it's a little it's close enough. That's past one of the pinch points for traffic jams in the morning time. Like Terrell, I was thinking staying at Terrell, but there's some areas in between Terrell and that TA where traffic can really get backed up, and so I'd rather have fewer of those situations in front of me. I'd rather just go ahead and, get a little bit closer, even though we might be staying with some crackheads. They'll be alright. They're normally pretty friendly. My crackheads normally aren't too mean, as long as they have the crack they want. They're normally not too bad. So that's probably where we'll be. Look how much room they're losing. And look at this. I space back here. There ain't no way I'm gonna roll my tires back across that thing with rebar sticking up out of it. So thankfully the spot where I'm at is it'll be easy parking for the guy next to me. He's got like a straight shot coming in here, so it won't be an issue. But if it was one of the spots back there, like if it was further back over down that way, you know, having the nose of my truck hanging out this far might actually, I mean, I just wouldn't park there because somebody'd run into me probably.